Hi there, my name is Joey Sartorius. This is my very amateur attempt at documenting my backpacking trip to Havasu Falls. This place is pretty spectacular and I'm excited to share it with you. For me, it all started when this crazy group of people decided to follow this crazy person into the bottom of the Grand Canyon. The night before, we stayed at this crazy hotel and had these crazy rooms. Before we knew it, we were at the trailhead. We snapped a few pictures and hit the road. Our packs were heavy, but our vibes were super high. We took our time hiking down. The first mile and a half or so are a bunch of switchbacks. We took lots of breaks and lots of photos. This was a really fun group of people organized by my oldest sister and her husband. We all felt super fortunate that we got to go on this. As we got lower, the canyon walls got higher. As you can see, I loved every second of this. Around every single corner, there was some beautiful setting, beautiful scene just waiting for us. We had only planned on hiking about 9 miles that day, but because the campground that we stay at is about 1.5 miles long and we got the very last campground, our hike ended up being just over 11 miles. Here's me looking a little chubby. Backpacks are not the most flattering piece of equipment to wear. As we neared the village, we got really excited for Navajo tacos. Photography is not allowed in the village. After the village, we started to walk towards the campground. You pass by Navajo Falls and 50-foot falls on the way. These are, however, not on the main trail. Before you know it, you walk around a corner and right there is Havasu Falls. This is a spectacular waterfall. It was a great place to take a break and take a few more photos. Shortly after leaving Havasu Falls, you enter the campground. This is Fern Spring. This is where you get all of your water for the trip. The campground is a truly magical place. And our campsite was no exception. We got the very last spot available just above Mooney Falls. We had river, we had views, it was magical. This is not just a picture of Mooney Falls. If you look a little bit closer, you'll see our tent. That's how close to the edge of the campground we were. Dinner tasted extra good that night with this view and these people. We had no clue what lay before us in the morning, though. Day 2 was the coolest. We woke up early, ate breakfast, and hit the trail. Our first obstacle of hiking to the Confluence is hiking down the cliff face at Mooney Falls. It is as intense as advertised. The overspray from the waterfall makes it super slick. There's also a ton of traffic when we were hiking down, so we had to wait on the edge of the cliff face while people cleared out. But it is truly breathtaking. I put this shot in to show the overspray from the waterfall, but it's a nice added bonus that you get to see my wife's ass so up close and personal. Once we made it to the bottom, we snapped a couple of pictures and hit the trail. With over 17 miles to hike that day, we wasted no time. You'll also notice through here that Mike was an incredible pace setter. He's my oldest brother. He and his wife went to the Confluence with us, while the rest of the group went to Beaver Falls and spent the day there. It was a good thing that Mike was setting such a fast pace because I wanted to stop and take pictures around just about every corner. This is one of 8,000 river crossings we did that day. The hike to the Confluence is intense. Just knowing that you have to do the Mooney Falls hike twice is really intense, but also there's some really exposed cliff edges that you walk along on this hike. This probably isn't the best hike for beginners. This is Beaver Falls. We didn't spend much time on the way down, but spent a little bit of extra time on the way back, snapping a few extra photos. Our cousin Julie, who was on the trip with us, made sure that we had our solar eclipse classes to take in the solar eclipse that happened that day. As you can see, I burned my retinas. At this point, we were really close to the Colorado River, and we could feel the energy. The Confluence is where Havasu Creek and the Colorado River meet. The Colorado River was almost a chocolate milk consistency, so it was really cool to see where Havasu Creek met the Colorado River. There was also a bunch of fish, I think, that were spawning in Havasu Creek. Here you can see that contrast between the Colorado River water and the Havasu Creek water. We sat down, had a quick lunch, and then got in. The water was freezing. This day might be one of my most favorite days in the outdoors, period. We spent some time in the water, but knew we had a long hike ahead of us, so we hit the trail. These little guys were cute and could have given two shits less about us. I never miss an opportunity to scare my wife. Here are some photos from the crew that spent the day at Beaver Falls. These are some of my favorite photos of the trip. Before we knew it, we were back to Mooney Falls and ready to make the climb back up. There was a window where there wasn't much traffic, so we took it. For me, climbing up was much easier than climbing down. You're looking up, you're looking where you're putting your hands and your feet. On the climb down, you're staring down the entire way. After we got up, we actually spent some time looking through binoculars for one of our friend's phone that fell out on the climb down Mooney Falls. We of course couldn't find it, but this did allow us some time to reflect on what we had just accomplished. Dinner tasted extra good that night with the view. Day 3 was easy. We slept in, savored our breakfast, and planned on spending the day around the local waterfalls like Havasu Falls, 50-Foot Falls, and Navajo Falls. We still hiked about 6.5 miles that day, but it was easy going. Picture time. This is of course us in front of Havasu Falls. All of the water here is crystal blue and ice cold. It was super cleansing. Here's me being all zen. You really did feel completely recharged after you got out of the water. Here's a slightly racist depiction of Native Americans. We first visited 50-Foot Falls, and the trail there is literally walking up a stream. There are no places to put your bags down at this place. We found a tree to hang our bags in so that we could spend some time going underneath the waterfalls. After 50-Foot Falls, we made our way down to Navajo Falls. This was definitely the most densely populated waterfall. A lot of people hanging out there, a lot of influencers in the wild doing their thing. After Navajo Falls, we made our way back to the campground to relax. On day 4, we woke up before the sunrise and hit the trail. We all knew we had an 11-mile hike out and it was all going to be uphill. We loved this hike out. It was quiet and cool and peaceful. We had hiked this canyon just a few days before, but it felt completely different, with the light being totally different than when we walked in. The hike in took us over 8 hours. The hike out took us just under 4 hours. It really did feel like we were hiking in a completely different canyon. Two miles before the top of the trail, we stopped, took off our warm clothes, and got hiking again. We were anxious to get to the top, and I would like to say that we were a little motivated to be the first ones out of the canyon. We're competitive. We definitely cut it close. Shannon was closing in on us. You can see her in the background of this shot. I was crying when I got to the top, and not just because of the 1.5 miles of intense switchbacks. This was a life-changing trip. This was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I will never forget. It is tricky to get there, and it is hard to get the permits. So being able to experience this is something that I will cherish forever.